That's right, we're back with another Kirby-themed video, people.
And I'm here this time.
That's right, he's Andy, and I'm James, and welcome to some more Kirby content.
After reading the script several times, I'm told this video focuses on some old school Kirby stuff. I'm inclined to believe that means a game of some sort, such as Kirby Adventure, or Kirby Tilt and Tumble, or Kirby Vietnamese Crystal.
Nope, this video focuses on the finale of one of the craziest Kirby adventures ever, his adventure into anime.
The one place any video game content can go and succeed, right? Right?
You'll see. Back in the early 2000s, a joint investment by Nintendo and HAL Laboratory birthed an anime series that told the origin story and several episodic stories of a pink spherical creature called a Star Warrior, also known as Kirby. The series, heavily overseen by Kirby's creator Masahiro Sakurai, focused on the mysterious NME company selling King Dedede and his right-hand man, or snail, monsters and robots to try and get rid of Kirby. But with Kirby's heroic disposition and instinctive ability to save anyone in danger, he usually puts a cap on any plots Dedede tries to pull off.
The anime series, while supervised by the people who developed the Kirby games, still had some major differences from the games. For one, in the anime, Kirby is revealed to be a Star Warrior destined to save Popstar. 2, Meta Knight is never shown with wings. Yep, winner of the Never Allowed in Another Brawl Tournament Again award was never given the ability to fly in his own show. Pitiful. Finally, Dedede certainly talks a lot more than he does in the games.
I ain't worried none. We still got 3 more left here. Kirby just got lucky that time, that's all.
His big mouth and overjealous attitude lead him to trust the double-crossing NME corporation that's constantly backstabbing him and selling him shoddy robots to get rid of Kirby.
At least that's what this intro sequence for each episode would have you believe.
How can I help you, King Dedede?
I need a monster to claw with that there Kirby.
That's what we do best at NME.
You better get it with a money-back guarantee.
I can't imagine hearing this for each of the 100 episodes and having it not get stuck in your head.
I agree, but we're not here to review the whole series, just the final episode. Or episodes, I'm not sure. The official episode list divides us into a few episodes, but we're gonna call it the final one anyway.
Yep, today we're reviewing the series finale of Kirby Right Back at You. Kirby, Fright to the Finish.
Our final adventure starts with this guy, a salesman from NME attempting to convince Dedede that every monster he's sent up to this point is top of the line and not a fluke. Dedede and Escargoon aren't having it.
That's right. His Majesty may be a big fat meathead, but how many half-baked freakazoids you gonna send me? I'll do the complaining here.
I figured we'd be further in than 40 seconds before someone insulted Dedede, but I guess after 90 plus episodes of dealing with his plots and monsters, you gotta take a few cheap shots. This guy then gives the two goons an idea. They've been trying to destroy Kirby, why not go after his Warp Star? They both realize that Tiff, who we'll meet later, is the reason the Warp Star shows up. Then he tries to make a comment about Dedede's intelligence, which...
See what a little thinking can do?
That's a screen. Why is the guy cleaning himself off? He's not in the box. This just makes no sense. But at least we don't have to look at Escargoon's face or body or design anymore. The scene takes us to some Cappies, the world's inhabitants, and Kirby enjoying a picnic. If this is your first time watching the show, this is the mom, the dad, Fololo, Falala, Tiff, Tuff, Kirby, basket, sandwich, grass, tree, sky, blanket, and flowers. This being the first time I've watched this in a few years, I don't remember most of the significance of these characters.
All you should really care about is how sad Kirby looks when Tiff gets distracted while handing him another sandwich. Just watch.
Gosh darn it. It's like you just disappointed a kitten or a puppy. How can you tug on my heartstrings like that?
The thing that distracts them all is a car closing in fast. It ends up being Dedede and Escargoon. They state they're not here for Kirby and proceed to kidnap Tiff. This is not the first time this will happen either. The movie can't get enough of kidnappings. Anyway, Tuff, Kirby, Falala, and Fololo give chase after Dedede speeds off. Holy crap, so many triple sounds.
Dedede, Escar whatever, and some of Dedede's goons drag her to the castle dungeons where they conveniently pass Meta Knight and his 2 Australian knights.
It's alright, kidnap Tiff.
What was that now?
It's alright, kidnap Tiff.
Alright, just making sure I heard and understood what you said.
They lock her in a cage with a table full of cakes and themselves so they can explain their entire evil plan, and Andy and I will just let them spill the beans for us.
Just say the magic words.
What magic words?
The ones you say whenever that pesky pinky's in a pickle. Kibou! Warp Star! And if you don't say it, we're gonna keep you tied up nice and tight till you do. Got it?
She obviously refuses, and seconds later, Tuff and Kirby show up. Also, who employs the Waddle Dees to do anything? Anything at all? Seriously, these two are servants to Tiff's family. These people somehow stole the guards' spears and turned them on the Waddle Dees. How are they employed? How are they alive? They're almost as useless as the little brother.
That's easy. The warp star's inside Kibou.
Ah yes, the oldest trick in the book. Do nothing and dim-witted character reveals the location of the MacGuffin. Classic. The best part, nay, only good part of this, is Kirby's face. Kirby is so criminally adorable, it's hard to criticize what's going on around him, even though we're doing that. His reactions are pure gold throughout this special.
So DDD and S-Car Goof speed off to find Kibou, this mysterious something located somewhere so they can steal the Warp Star. But Tiff isn't too worried because
they don't understand the power of the warp star like I do.
A flashback happens where she explains to Meta Knight that she couldn't hide the Warp Star in the castle.
You brought it here to keep it safe and secret.
I couldn't keep it back at the castle.
A wise decision.
Thanks, Meta Knight!
which leads to another flashback about her hiding the Warp Star in Kibou because there was a star-shaped hole where it fit. I guess that makes sense. Giant stone face that's been there for
millions and millions of years.
with a star-shaped hole. I guess it makes sense to put it there.
We're not even 10 minutes into the film, and so much has already happened. We return to DDD, who has found Kibou and is now threatening him. Not heeding the warnings, he decides to throw spears at the stone face, and exactly what you think would happen happens. An argument erupts about DDD wanting to incarcerate the stone monument until the sky gets all stormy and a big thing appears in the sky. The thing begins firing at Kirby and doing some pretty severe damage to DDD's castle. Speaking of the devil, DDD and S-Car go away, arrive back at the castle to argue with the enemy salesman about the thing destroying his castle.
While DDD is focused on the cost, the salesman assures him that it's free and it's the answer they've been looking for. The saucer named Destraya continues its assault on the castle in an attempt to kill Kirby while he inexplicably survives. Kirby grabs a second of silence before Tiff and Tuff show up, then Meta Knight shows up. He insists that Tiff call the Warp Star, saying that
we do not have the strength to battle this thing ourselves. It is our only hope.
Thanks, Meta Knight!
A final unforeseen missile hits close by, so Tiff decides to call the Warp Star. And just like any estranged anime MacGuffin, the Warp Star has a mind of its own and dodges incoming missiles while Tiff and Tuff yell at Kirby to get on the Warp Star.
Hurry up and get on it, Kirby! Hey,
He's
Fright,
trying.
What are they gonna do? Kirby, get on it!
Damn
He's trying, alright? Finally! Good job, Kirby.
Kirby then leads this epic scene where he's being chased by a whole bunch of missiles until Tiff and Tuff find themselves in danger.
Kirby turns around to save them, but only saves Tiff for some reason. I guess Meta Knight grabbed Tuff. Tiff and Kirby hold on tight until one of the missiles chips the Warp Star and knocks them off. They fall until the Warp Star catches them again and they head for Kibou. DDD and S-Car get off the screen, begin celebrating until the salesman explains what Kibou is to the Warp Star and Star Warriors.
Kibou's sort of a hospital for warp stars and wounded Star Warriors, like a big recovery room.
Recovery!
We're gonna pause the movie right here because the next portion of it is a dream sequence with little to no payoff. The sequence details air ride machines that NME has created to combat the Warp Star. Kirby fights them, wins, and then wakes up. It was all a dream created for Kirby and Tiff by Kibou to tell Kirby that he needs to be ready to pilot other kinds of flying craft. I'm not a fan of the dream sequence taking up a good 12 minutes of screen time.
While Kibou bores and confuses us, Destraya flies over to Kibou and DDD gives the order to destroy the stone face. And so, the onslaught begins.
Kibou, you are in danger.
Thanks again, Meta Knight.
The now healed up Warp Star then picks itself up, becomes large again, and flies Kirby up toward the Destraya. The music accompanying him dodging missiles is actually pretty cool, and this time Kirby seems to have a handle on dodging these things. Most of the time.
Kirby flies into the mouth of the saucer and swallows some of the bombs to become what again, Meta Knight?
Crash, Kirby.
Oh, okay, thanks. The explosion destroys the Destraya and Kirby lands back down in Dreamland. We then get a foreshadowing scene with the salesman talking to his presumed boss, this Dark Shadow over here. Don't get used to his awful voice because we zip right back to Dreamland to find out Cappy Town has been burned almost to the ground.
As they look on, Meta Knight ominously proclaims that now is the time and asks Tiff and Tuff to gather the inhabitants of Cappy Town together. Tuff expresses concern because
They're trying to put out all the
That does not matter.
Well, that's rather insensitive. Just because you live in a hole for the whole series doesn't mean you can just tell us our livelihoods don't matter. His eyes just turned green. Let's do what he says.
Upon return to what remains of Cappy Town, their annoying bird friend informs them that the town blames Kirby for the destruction.
Yeah, and what about all the times Kirby came to our rescue?
He sure didn't protect us this time.
That's why we don't have a place to live anymore.
Cappy Town is in ruins.
There's not a mailbox left in the whole town.
Is that man okay? He seems rather fixated on mailboxes. I think he's also the guy who chips in with...
What's the use?
later on, too. I think he needs to see a therapist. Is there one left?
Cappy Town's residents seem reluctant to help, devolving into not knowing what to do, which then devolves into giving into Tiff's directions to go to the castle to meet Meta Knight. This really tells a tale of unity and crisis, coming together in the face of inevitable destruction, picking yourself up when things look the worst.
When your planet's in danger, you follow the first person with directions. It's that simple. Back with DDD and Eskar gotta catch 'em all, they complain to the salesman about... something. They talk of multiple things taking nosedives, implying more than just the saucer fell, implying the air ride machines that were a part of Kirby and Tiff's dream were real. But because we take the side of logic most days and don't pay any mind to hearsay and don't like plot holes, we're going to say they meant the flying saucer.
The salesman mentions a big project he and his company are working on next, and then warns them that Meta Knight might not be on their side. What a surprise! He then transports a phone to them that will allow them to take pictures of any suspicious activity Meta Knight might be conducting. They all share a laugh, and then we meet back up with Kirby, Meta Knight, Tiff, Tuff, Kawasaki, the mayor, the mom, the dad, the fountain, Fololo, Falala, the wall, Kirby, Tiff, Tuff, and the fountain.
The mom, the dad, the mayor, and this guy have some pointless dialogue before Meta Knight reveals the stairway to an underground area. Kirby and Tuff are elated and practically jump down the stairs. The scene pans out to reveal an orange creature keeping watch. It was Waddle Doo! That dirty single-eyed double-crosser informs DDD that dirty double-crossing Meta Knight is double-crossing them dirtily and leading the town into a chamber below his castle. The DD duo speed down their own secret shaft to meet up with Meta Knight and the others.
It's a...
Trap.
Pie!
Another world.
Statue.
Lever.
Light show.
Giant cat.
Severed ear. Battleship. Meta Knight reveals his secret project is the battleship Halberd, something he's been working on since his arrival in Dreamland. DDD and Eskar Goop arrive to send a picture to the salesman who says hi and bye in the same 6 seconds. Tuff insults DDD's intelligence, and then he storms out of the scene to call out Meta Knight.
Meta Knight, use a dirty double-crosser.
That dirty double-crosser double-crossing them dirtily with dirt. That double-crosser! Meta Knight brings them to the bridge, and the single best exchange in the whole movie happens.
I will take you to the bridge.
Yeah, I'd like to push you off one.
I hope this wasn't scripted. I hope this was just the voice actor being DDD and knowing exactly what he should have said in that moment. Please be the case.
It's alright, ain't me? It's alright now.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
It's alright, ain't me? It's alright now.
Repeat again, I didn't catch that.
It's alright, ain't me? It's alright now.
Alright, just making sure I heard you. Thank you.
Whoop, hold on. It's buffering. There we go. Meta Knight reveals NME's home base where they make their monsters and the Destrias. While he talks about this, they ignore DDD, who is sending pictures of the interior of the ship to the salesman. No one sees this. Oh, there we go. Irrelevant since they notice as everything starts shaking. It's revealed the Destrias are attacking Dreamland again.
You will not be spared, Your Majesty. As you can see, all of us are under attack.
Thanks again, Meta Knight!
The daunting circumstances are too much for the Cappy Towners, and the irrelevant characters leave the ship to find their land is still burning. They look on while we return to DDD and Eskar Gorp as they move back up the shaft they went down earlier. They are thrown through some rubble to find their monster transporter is destroyed. They call the salesman to demand he send them another. He makes a deal. Destroy Meta Knight's ship, get a new monster transporter.
We then return to Kirby dodging missiles and the townspeople looking on until this guy shows up. Sergeant Cosmos or something. He was in a previous episode and he is back to tell the Cappies that it's time to shed their fear. It's time to fight back. We then return to DDD and Snailface, who attempt to sneak a time bomb onto the ship. Then we're on the bridge where they can't take off yet for whatever reason. They leave the ship and meet up with the returning Cappy Town residents. They all want to help Kirby fight this galaxy-sized battle.
Thanks, everyone. But not all of us can go. Yeah, somebody's got to stay behind to start rebuilding Cappy Town.
But why though? Why do you have to stay behind and rebuild the burning hexscape that they used to call home? You know what? Fine. Leave behind valuable members of your fighting team.
How's the story you helped Kirby?
Mind repeating?
How's the story you helped Kirby?
Okay, good. I heard Kirby and help. That's all I needed.
Those who want to volunteer rush onto the ship and Meta Knight starts up the engines. To avoid burning to death, Dedede and Escargot run onto the ship. Thus begins the slowest battleship rising scene ever. They rise into the air and... Oh look, Dynablade! And Wispy Woods with Fan! The whole world watches as the ship rises.
Roy Sarizawa!
Come again?
Roy Sarizawa!
Is this gonna be a thing with you?
Meta Knight gives the order and the cannons... Look out, Kirby! Destroy. After which Kirby finds his way back onto the Halberd. Cosmos welcomes Kirby back and Tiff picks up the now powered down Warp Star, keeping the MacGuffin safe for later use. As she does, the other Destrayas have opened fire on the Halberd. I don't know what was holding them back before, but I have a feeling it was plot related.
Then we must fire back.
Thanks again, Meta Knight.
The Halberd fires enough deadly shots to take down as many Destrayas. The celebration that takes place is premature as the Knights explain that this is only the first wave, and more will come if they don't stop them.
Sorry, Reyes.
Repeat the first, last, and middle part, please.
Sorry, Reyes.
I understood all of that. Alright, moving on.
We get some pretty cool shots of Dreamland from however far away they are. Oh, and the ship is just ready to travel into space because plot. Also, we can't enjoy anything unless Meta Knight is explaining how far away the enemy is. 900 light years, by the way. Just in case you were wondering. How far, Meta Knight?
Our target is 900 light years away.
Just to confirm, how far again?
Our target is 900 light years away.
Awesome. Thanks, Meta Knight!
Sorry, Nair.
Try it again, but slower.
Sorry, Nair.
No, that didn't help. Try it faster.
Sorry, Nair.
Alright, thank you.
The ship then goes into hyperspace. A bunch of pointless complaining happens, and it travels until it comes out 1 light year away. The fudge, Meta Knight. Why were you lying to us? Why not tell us your whole plan like a real pilot of a ship? His eyes are green again! Just let him lead!
Go over it. You just fly over it. Fly over through it. Yep, fly through that asteroid belt as if you have no y-axis movement. Whatever. They travel most of the way through until we get this weird speed travel through the enemy base until we meet the salesman and his boss again. They eject a capsule to meet Kirby and company halfway between the light year they happen to need to travel to get to enemy's base.
We return to the Halberd for some pointless padding scenes until we find Dedede and Escar get the hell off my screen entering the kitchen. Dedede's cover is blown when Kawasaki places hot dumplings on his hands. Meta Knight, Tiff, Tuff, Kirby, Kawasaki, this lady, Blade Knight, Tiff, Tuff, Dedede, Kirby, and Bookham show up to lock up the two main antagonists as
Non-combatant detainees.
See, those were words I understood. Blade Knight over here could take a lesson on how to speak words from this guy.
They're thrown in jail, and the salesman calls to deliver quite the finalizing message, telling them he sent a surprise and wishes them fond farewells before hanging up. They don't know what to panic about, but they panic and hold each other as the scene switches to space, where we meet back up with the capsule enemy launched. It latches on, digs in, and releases its monster, Heavy Lobster. He begins wreaking havoc, and Cosmos warns the bridge of the impending danger.
Quickly!
Thanks again, Meta Knight!
The two teams zip off on these quick-moving platforms that are all over the rest of this movie. Kirby and his team trap themselves on the other side of a door to distract it long enough for Sword and Blade Knight to take a shot. They do it, and it's really effective at being ineffective. They are thrown to the side and Lobster melts the door. Kirby and company run to a dead end where Kawasaki tries to save them with Cook Kirby powers.
That monster is mechanical. Cook Kirby cannot stop it.
What do you know? You barely even used your sword, you face mask wearing. I don't have to hugging impress you.
The group run and the Knights attempt another shot. It connects and gives them enough time to run away and close the next few iron doors. Then we return to who else but Dedede and Escar Graf.
Panic isn't enough to keep the two awake as we find them asleep until Lobster breaks in. They call the salesman to tell him to call off the beast. The metal thing shoots a laser that disintegrates their cell bars and they run for the bridge.
Something's wrong.
Thanks, Thanks, engineer.
Our group take temporary refuge in the engine room and prepare to take a shot at Heavy Lobster. After the bazooka is obviously ineffective, Kirby runs forward to try and be a hero. Luckily, Kawasaki jumps back into the plot to provide Kirby with exactly what we need.
Diet what?
You're gonna want to repeat that.
Diet what?
I understand entirely.
Ice Kirby!
Thanks, Sword Knight!
A case of hypothermia, sub-zero temperatures, and one bazooka blast later, and Heavy Lobster is now in pieces. Just in time for another alarm to go off.
What's wrong now?
Well, the plot gnome was getting bored with all the pointless dialogue and decided to move the story forward. Meta Knight calls the crew back to the bridge to show them that they have arrived at enemy's fortress. The number of Destrias posted around the base make even the most detached viewer feel a little intimidated.
Oh, and DDD and Eskar Vomit return to the bridge as well, because why not? And in another case of giving the villain all the information without even trying, DDD calls the salesman, gives away the position in their plans, and limits their maneuvers to a head-on assault. I wish DDD was the classic DDD. You know, without all the words and the double-digit IQ and the small chance he's preparing Kirby for or turning him away from a much more dangerous power. Please, I miss that DDD.
Try that again. This time, sound out the words. Perfect, thank you. Meta Knight gives an extraordinarily late order to fire back as the enemy base fires every bullet and saucer they have at the Halberd. The odds seem inconceivably daunting, but the Halberd charges forth nonetheless, and you have shields? Why didn't you activate those before? There are shields and they ran out? Perfect. Just when all seems lost, a saucer from behind the Halberd fires on another saucer. We're calling them saucers now because Destria is a stupid name.
When all seems lost, a transmission comes in from Knuckle Joe, Princess Sirica, who no one remembers, and Arthur and his army of Star Warriors, each hijacking one of 3 of the saucers to fight back and give the Halberd cover while it charges into the enemy fortress.
They fly in through a hole and come to an area deep in the fortress.
Quiet.
I wonder why nobody's attacking us.
Maybe they're giving up.
Nah, charging deeper. And they do, until they discover a character they call Enemy, but we're going to call him Nightmare, because that's his name. He warns Kirby and floats backward. Meta Knight gives the order to follow him and attempts to fire at Nightmare. Just aim up. Aim upward. You can't aim down, so go a little higher. A little higher, come on. Whatever. Meta Knight discovers that they've been led into a trap just in time for the trap to activate and begin shooting at the Halberd.
The ship turns around and a hatch closes behind them, so they fly into a gap in a wall and float near an edge. DDD and Eskar Goop for Brains goad Kirby into going out there and stopping the attacks by insisting he should show them he's a real Star Warrior. DDD, shut the up!
Kirby gives in to peer pressure and goes out to fight the battles no one else can. He swallows some missiles to become— oh my god, he's dead! Bomb Kirby. He then steals a winged star similar to the one in his dream and proceeds to blow up turrets and other winged star-clad enemies with his copy ability.
Back on the ship, DDD receives a call from the salesman to trick him and Eskar go away into hypnosis by Nightmare. This puts them in a trance and they kidnap Tiff for the second time. They leave the ship, hop on a moving platform, and ride it toward their hypnotizer. Kirby notices and stops the onslaught of bombs on the turrets hurting his friends to chase the girl again. Kirby, have you ever heard of sacrificing the few for the many? No? Just checking.
Pointless scene back on the ship where the crew discover DDD's phone and Meta Knight says, which is a power that can be abused for the best of jokes. Meta Knight, did you eat the last cookie? Meta Knight, do you like our Kirby content? Meta Knight, do you plan on liking and subscribing to NintenCity? The advertisements write themselves. Thanks, Meta Knight!
As Kirby chases Tiff, another group of air ride machine riders attack Kirby and he swallows some of the fire to become Fire Kirby. He burns all the flyers out of the sky but loses sight of Tiff, DDD, and Escargoon. Back on the ship, Meta Knight uses DDD's phone to find the control center of enemy's fortress. And how does he do this? By USB cable, of course. I don't know what weird future they're living in, but it's definitely not one where a USB cable can do more than just charge my tablet and connect my mouse. Chances are if the future has advanced this much, USB cables have probably been phased out.
Kawasaki suggests they blow up the control center, which should do in the entire fortress, thereby accidentally volunteering himself for the job. The Bird and Cosmos volunteer for this suicide mission, and then we return to DDD and Tiff. I omit the snail because go away, snail dude. They bring her to the salesman's office and are broken from their trance by his voice. He then reveals his true, unabridged, unscreened self. And he is really short. But he's like everyone else, an entire upper body and feet, no legs to speak of. He's also well dressed. Wish other people wore ties in this universe. And third kidnapping as Tiff is grabbed by Nightmare.
Kawasaki and company speed off for the control center and Nightmare floats backward with Tiff until Kirby discovers them. He gives chase and Tiff warns him of the obvious. This is a trap. Obviously he'll continue to chase them for a good 3 minutes. He could have turned around at any moment, but nah. Nope. Not today.
Then, One of the most annoying scenes in the movie plays out. DDD and S-Car should be food, demand food from the salesman who tells them he has none. They then just call to Kawasaki on the Fortress intercom and Kawasaki just shows up with food.
How'd he get in here?
We only have 10 minutes of movie left. I've stopped asking. You should too.
I'm pretty sure by this point, Nightmare is just lost. I mean, he's flying around his fortress backward. I'd get lost in my house going backward. Oh no, wait, the background changed. I think we made it. A chessboard. You're gonna defeat Kirby with chess? Okay, that's easy, buddy. I can defeat myself in chess. That's how smart I'm not, so Kirby won't be that hard to beat. Aim higher! It's like no one has any concept of vertical movement. He has a face, aim for it. Even if you miss, it was worth a try.
Kirby's usual attacks won't work here.
Thanks, Metatiff!
The scene returns to these 3 saucer hijacking characters fighting off saucers until 3 escape into the tube the Halberd escaped into. As they warn Meta Knight, the saucers begin their attack, which unfortunately destroy the Halberd's cannons. In the final attempt to save everyone, Meta Knight orders everyone to abandon ship. And down goes the Halberd. At least it didn't go out alone. It took the 3 saucers with it. As the crew take a breath, Kawasaki and company return to inform them that the bomb has been set. Realizing they have no ship to escape with, they all give up hope until Meta Knight comes up with a miraculous way to escape. The
Monster delivery system.
How do you know about that?
We return to Kirby, who is still breathing fire until he gets tired and falls asleep.
Your friend has chosen an unfortunate time for a nap.
What have you done to him?
He has used up all his energy. Kirby is now completely helpless. I can crush him without effort. But first, some fun.
You know, you were an okay villain besides your wispy appearance, your abilities to only travel backward, your unclear intentions, and your hypnotism powers, but this just builds the coffin for you, buddy. You were doing okay, but first some fun? No, this is every villain's folly. Oh well, he grabs Tiff and goes into Kirby's dream to turn it into a nightmare. Lo and behold, it's all food! Nightmare looks around and blows up an apple. How does that make it a nightmare?
I really don't know. Apples explode in my dreams all the time, but it's not because it's a nightmare. It's more about them being zombies and me having a shotgun that shoots exploding bullets. Anyway, Tiff calls for the warp star to no avail until she remembers she had the warp star all along. She tosses it at Kirby to use and he eats it. As any Kirby does. Good thing this is how he discovers the Star Rod, which happens to be Nightmare's only weakness.
Nightmare doesn't even try to stop Kirby. As soon as he gets the Star Rod, Nightmare just submits and the stars circle around him and destroy him in the dream, which destroys him in real life, thus finishing the battle that Kirby never even had to try to win. He just had to be hungry. Kirby and Tiff speed off to find the rest of the Halberd crew and discover them on multiple moving platforms after not searching for very long.
They all rush to the command center to use the monster delivery system to go home. That was probably the quickest way to do this. They rush in, inform DDD of their plan, and instantly figure out how to use the machine. They all jump on and hope for the best. The bomb goes off in the command center, and the enemy base gives us no more than 3 explosion visual effects because everyone knows more explosions, more finality.
We return to Dreamland where the Cappy Town residents are attempting to put back together DDD's side of the monster delivery system.
If that transport machine isn't fixed in a few seconds, Carrio,
Our children won't be able to return!
Normally I would question how in the world they learned this was the plan because the Halberd crew had no way of communicating to Cappy Town that this was their plan, but no. Just like Andy said, there isn't enough time left in the movie to actually ask these questions, so we'll let the Halberd crew come home.
The plan works, and Tiff, Tuff, Kirby, Meta Knight, Blade Knight, Sword Knight, Cappy with a mustache, Tiff, Tuff, Bookum, Blade Knight, Tiff, Tuff, Bird, and Kirby return home. The movie ends with the sun rising over the newly rebuilt Cappy Town, while DDD and S-Car going away soon lament over their lost monster transport abilities and castle.
And there you have it, Kirby, Fright to the finish. A mediocre trip through plot holes the size of highway tunnels, but at least it let you see Kirby in a whole different light that will make you glad we have the Kirby we have, and others nostalgic for the way Kirby used to be.
I'm thankful for all Kirby all the time. Thank you, Kirby, for Kirby. Kirby. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like this video, feel free to thumbs up and then subscribe to our YouTube channel, then follow NintenCity on our social media. If you're hungry for even more NintenCity goodness, watch our other videos. Thank you again for watching, and see you all next time.